Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to my channel for another Hot Toys 1/6 scale Terminator 2 Judgment Day figure unboxing and review. Today we're taking a look, and I cannot believe this is happening right now, at the 2.0 version of the T1000. This piece was only announced 9 months ago, and it's already here. That never happens. Super quick turnaround for a standard piece that's not an exclusive. Now, I got mine at a discount from Pop Collectibles. I've popped a link to their site in the description, along with the discount code Justin's Collection, for 5% off your order if you decide to buy from them. As always, do your own research, make sure you're comfortable before buying. If you're heading down to the description, why not hit that subscribe, bell notification icon, and join button, so you're notified as soon as brand new Terminator content goes live. Look, I am genuinely over the moon right now to be looking at a 2.0 version of the T1000. I freaking love T2. It's one of my favorite movies of all time, but is it just me? Or is the box art a little plain? As for the box art, it comes across reserved more than anything else. We've got an image of the figure. It's got this red tint to it, then the metallic silver foil text and logos. This stuff in the background doesn't really scream T2 or T1000 to me. I reckon the box that we got with the 1.0 version of the T1000 actually looked better than this. At least there's a metallic finish to the artwork. It does help it pop. This video is brought to you by Justin's Collection.shop, the home of the figure first aid kit, as well as other accessories to help your collection be the best it can be. The first aid kit contains multiple tools to help you with maintenance, styling rooted hair, and much more. We also sell crotch grabbers, soft rubber tips to prevent damage, and they're compatible with most modern Hot Toys base molds. Acrylic risers come in multi-packs. They're optically clear, thick and sturdy, and stackable. Check out the link to Justin's Collection.shop in the description. On the side of the box, pretty straightforward. We've got some logos, then this one in the middle in high gloss. It reveals itself as light bounces off the surface. Is that meant to be the door where the neurochip gets inserted into the T800's head? I think that's what that is meant to homage. If it's a Cyberdyne logo or something like that, and I've since forgotten what that's supposed to look like, please correct me down in the comments. It's been ages since I've seen T2. It's 100% time for a rewatch. As soon as the T800s drop, I will be watching that movie again. Around the back, more techie stuff done in metallic red, as well as warnings and legal information. Underneath the slip cover, an open window showcasing T1000, all of his accessories inside, his name on the side of the box. Then around the back, a bunch of product shots showcasing various outfit options and some of his accessories. What's this? Step up? 100%? Again, am I misremembering something? Is that referencing a moment in the movie or something that was seen on a screen in the background? I genuinely have no idea. I'm curious to hear what y'all think about it. I don't know, man. This feels a little DX-y to me. This screams Hot Toys DX figures of old. We've got secondary outfit options and a bunch of accessories, a large format base with a light-up effect, and a switch-out head sculpt. We don't often get two head sculpts, but we do with the T1000. First in-hand impressions for him. I'm going to need to do some adjusting with the outfit to get the proportions to look good, but so far, pretty impressed with the way the tailoring sits on the body and of course that head sculpt. What we're going to do now is get all of his accessories laid out in the light box and take a closer look at everything he comes with. Holy shit, that's a lot of stuff. Hot Toys, you are spoiling me today. Usually it feels like you're paying for more than you actually end up getting when it comes to Hot Toys releases, or sometimes that happens. Today, this is the opposite. I reckon I've got more value than what I paid for, given the sheer part count of this piece. Yes, you can't display everything on him at once, both head sculpts, for example, but there is enough here, if you have a spare body lying around, for you to kit bash a second T1000. And that makes this set even more special, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Starting off with the display base first, it's reuse. A lot of this stuff is reuse. Maybe that's why they were able to give us as much stuff as they did, but either way, it's big, but it's manageable. Like, you've got flat sides, a flat back, the front isn't overly angled. There's a bit of an angle to it, but I reckon you're going to be able to work with this in the display. The top metal grate flooring panel is textured, not because of the sculpt, but the paint. All of the speckling over the top, you can feel how gritty it is. The rails, though, that are removable, they're properly sculpted with a bunch of texture on them, and the caution tape bits up top are weathered. Then we've got real metal chains in the middle. Height adjustable crotch grabber, printed T1000 T2 nameplate, that is stunning, and the light up effect. But even without the LEDs turned on, you can tell that the under part of the base, like underneath the metal grate flooring, is printed to look like lava or molten metal. So say you don't have a power supply available in your display, this base is still going to look decent. Plugging in a non-included USB-C cable and flicking the switch, this just brings the scene to life. Somehow, some way, I am going to figure out how to get this thing lit up permanently in the collection, because the orange glow this is going to cast on the T1000, illuminating him from below, that's going to look like $1,000,000. With those LEDs turned on, it is a truly glorious base. We get two head sculpts, both have moving eyes. Well, this one only has one moving eye, but the other one has two of them. We'll discuss them in more detail on the body. All you need to know at this very moment is I do prefer one of them over the other, and those of you who know me can probably guess which one that is. This, it's not an accessory, it's a full secondary outfit. It's a police uniform. We get the dress shoes. I want to talk about these in more detail in a second. The jacket with the badge up front says 572. That's accurate. Then we've got the patches on the sleeves. This is a nylon-esque material. It's slightly poofy. That's the way it's supposed to be. The trousers, they're a deep navy blue, and it's interesting how they pop the fly around the back. That way, when you've got this on him, there's no bulkiness for the crotch area, making that look weird. They've even gone to the effort of giving you some black socks, so if you've got him in a running pose perhaps, then you're not going to see bare unpainted plastic ankle pegs. Look, I'm no police shoe or police uniform expert. These are the shoes, back to them for a second. The stitching, the wrinkling, and the laces, the toe cap, it all visually speaking hits the mark. It's even nice and shiny. Looks like a patent leather shoe. But isn't this more accurate? This looks like a dress shoe, and that doesn't come across as though it's a dress uniform. I tried to find reference for the shoes that he was wearing in the movie. I struggled, but I found a chrome pair that was signed by Robert Patrick, and they looked a lot closer to this. This is the shoe that we got with the 1.0 version of the T1000 all those years ago, and I still think these shoes are more accurate than the new ones. You'll probably think I'm crazy. The new shoes, I already said it, they are solid. I'm just not going to use them. I'll be using the shoes that came with the first release. Speaking of shoes, they give us some boots to make it look like he's melting into the ground, or he's coming out of the ground, whatever you want to pose him doing. They're meant to facilitate that. They look okay. The shiny silver has a reflectiveness to it. It doesn't come across as chrome to me. You could argue it's meant to mimic the look of the flooring, but they didn't give us a plate to pop on the base that has the proper metal grate look to it. These boots don't represent the surface of that base, so the whole effect is ruined. I don't see the point of including these unless you're going to give us a flat facade platform to pop on the base, just like what Entebbe did to give us this metal grate flooring look on top of the other style of metal grate flooring they ended up going with. That was such a convoluted way of explaining that. I hope I made it clear what I was trying to say. The motorcycle cop helmet, you can remove this bottom piece. That's how you attach it to the head sculpt. Just be careful. There's some padding on the inside still. This is solid sculpted plastic, and I'm nervous about scuffing up the paint applications on the T1000's head. Versus the helmet that came with the original, it's the exact same mold. It's the exact same helmet. The only difference is the paint. The silver is shinier with the new one, and the brim is a lot glossier. The police belt, is it made of leather? I don't know. Is it? I looked at Sideshow's website. They just call it a black police belt. Hot Toys website, similar verbiage. It could be real leather. The back is textured. That's usually a telltale sign. It's quite thin. It feels soft and supple, but it doesn't smell like real leather. I've done a sniff test and it smells kind of synthetic, honestly. I can't say for sure, so I'm not going to say one way or the other, really. The pouches, they're all sculpted plastic, working holster, working compartment for the handcuffs. You can remove the radio. We'll talk about it independently in a second. Open up the pouches for spare magazines, but they don't include any spare magazines. Last time they did. Why did you take away the spare magazines, Hot Toys? I can pop them in the pouches for the new T1000, but they really should have included them. Now, the buckle is real metal, but that stud goes in any one of the holes. That's how you secure this to the T1000. I wouldn't take it on and off regularly because eventually that stud is going to stress out the holes. Then this won't close up and sit on the T1000 properly. Okay, back to the radio. The buttons are painted. The screen has that green look to it. The speaker grate up on top. That's nicely done. This is the radio we got last time. The buttons are a different color, and there was some text above the screen, not to mention the dry brush over the top. I prefer the 1.0's radio. I'm sorry if I'm coming across overly harsh on the 2.0. I don't mean to. I genuinely think there's a lot to love about this set. But it's also my job as a reviewer to point out inaccuracies and discrepancies between this and what came before it, so I am going to continue to do that. The glasses, they're sculpted plastic. These are the ones we got with the 1.0. Again, more accurate with what came before. This flat, somewhat shiny, but also dull-looking metallic for the lenses doesn't represent what we saw on screen. T1000's aviators were a high-gloss mirror finish like the ones we got with the first one. At least for the pen and the handcuffs, I've got no complaints. The pen is sculpted plastic. The handcuffs have a real metal chain in the middle. You can open them up. You are supposed to store these on his belt, but if you want to have him holding them, freaking go for it. These were always some of my favorite accessories with the first release, and they still are with this new one. We've got two of the double bullet hole effects, then we've got two of the middle-sized ones, but three of the smaller ones. They attach with magnets to his shirt. I will show you how that works later. They're a lot shinier. They're closer to chrome versus the switch-out boots, so I much prefer the paint applications on these versus what we got with the 1.0. Finally, a win with the new one. They still were okay with the original, but the black shading in the middle never really made sense to me. It's pretty clever the way they've done these, with the navy blue shading on the bottom and the wrinkling coming across as though they are forming out of his body, his police uniform, his outfit. Then the metallic flake takes over with the shiny silver. It is really reflective. We've got two hooks and one blade, but you plug these onto the body with wrist pegs. There's wrist pegs on the inside of all three of these things. You don't have to fight with wrist pegs to get them connected in. You pull the ones out of the body, then plug these bad boys on there. We are almost there, folks. I promise. We're about to move on to the T1000. The MP5 is the same as what we got last time. Sculpt-wise, identical. The only difference is the red bullet detail work around the fire selection switch is more red. It's a more vibrant red. The fire selection switch still moves, and you can remove the magazine, plus there's some painted bullet detail up on top. M9 looks the same as well. Working slide. You can even take it off if you'd like to field strip the M9. Not that the T1000, I think, would be doing that, but it's totally an option. Removable magazine, and is this compatible with the spare magazines we got with the 1.0? Yep, 100%. They slide right in there. And lastly, a full array of some of the best 1/6 scale hands I've ever seen. The wrinkling, the skin texture, the sculpted and painted vein work, the painted cuticles, and the gestures. These relaxed open palm hands, just natural looking. They come across very realistic. Two trigger finger hands, that wrinkling right there, the baggy looking skin on the edge of the thumb. Stunning work on these hands, seriously. splayed out finger-ish hands with the thumbs and the pinky sticking out. Two gripping hands with the thumbs fused to the forefingers. These could be used for the flashlight, I reckon. You'd slide it through the base of the hand and have him holding it like that. The fingers are soft enough for you to be able to pry that open and make it happen. But the spiky pointing finger hands, they are my favorite. This is the shorter one, the silver, pretty shiny. It's not true chrome, but it is close. There's wrinkling around the base of the finger, then the metallic silver takes over. This is a normal pointing finger hand. The detail on there still looks good. And then we've got the extra long spike on the pointing finger hand. What we're going to do now, finally, is get the T1000 himself out here. Standing straight up and down in the light box, no crazy poses or accessories or anything like that. This, just setting the scene before we get stuck into it, I feel is one of their most successful 2.0s. What the hell do I mean by that? Well, let me tell you. This is a top to bottom overhaul. Brand new body, brand new hands, better proportions. Still want to talk about the proportions off the turntable though, because something funky is going on. And two brand new head sculpts. Not to mention all of the other stuff you get. This is not one of those 2.0s where it feels like an immediate inherent downgrade versus the original. This is a proper upgrade through and through. They focused on the core aspects, which is getting him to look real, and with him just turning around in front of us right now, he looks very freaking real. Okay, that is a killer T1000 sculpt. It's not perfect. There's one thing that I want to discuss with this head. Overall, though, it hits all the right marks, including something that I wasn't expecting. But before we get to all of that stuff, we will move on to the secondary head sculpt, the one with the hole straight through it, which is arguably the more visually interesting of the two, in a minute. This sculpt, the likeness to Robert Patrick, I am seeing from every angle, and the expression. It's not just the furrowed brow, which will make a lot more sense when we have his eyes looking up through it. It's all of this. The muscle structure for his jaw. Dean Knight said this in his video on the blogger pics for the T1000 when this piece dropped, that it looks like he's clenching his jaw, which was part of Robert Patrick's performance as the T1000, and somehow they've managed to capture that look in 1/6 scale. I've never seen anything like that before. You can clearly read what he is doing on the inside of his mouth, which feels so weird to say, but that is the best way I can describe it. There's the subtlest of 5 o'clock shadows going on, some green shading, then we've got a freckle right there. There's vein work on his neck and skin texture all the way down. It's a single piece head sculpt, so head and neck combined. There's no seam. The skin detail, it does go down into the outfit. And the hairline with the feathered edge and the little strands. He's got painted eyelashes. There's so much life to the eyes. There's depth and the color, that piercing blue, plus he's got moving eyes. But that brings me to my one big complaint with this piece. The seam around the back for the removable hair panel to facilitate the moving eye function. I get they wanted to have a single piece head and neck. Because Robert Patrick is as chiseled as he is, I think they could have disguised a cut underneath the head to do away with the seam on the back and give us more articulation. This style of head sculpt with the neck and head combined, it feels a touch dated. Before we get to moving eyes, I'm dying to give this piece some side eye or even have him looking up a bit more. The 1.0 head sculpt on the right, I feel pales in comparison to the new one, which is a testament to the new piece because I always thought the likeness was quite strong on the original. It was one of their best Terminator pieces. The new one takes the win for me. Let me know which sculpt you prefer down in the comments. The lack of wrinkling on his forehead, the hair doesn't look as detailed, the paint apps for the skin tone are nowhere near as sharp. Then the skin tone itself, it leans more yellow with the original versus pink with the new one, and the 1.0 didn't have moving eyes. So to access them, you need to remove the back hair panel, and then you can wedge your finger inside the sculpt to move the eyes around. It's not the easiest thing in the world to do, just because there's limited access inside the sculpt. I would suggest grabbing the tool to do this. Don't bother using your finger because, like I already said, there's very limited access. With his eyes off to the side and looking up, this head sculpt is even better now. This is quite likely how I'm going to display him in my collection. That right there, that angle is near perfect. But this right here, it's simple. He's just looking straight forward, but with his eyes up, the eye sockets are slightly more squinted than usual, than what we normally get with Hot Toys figures that have got moving eyes. So combined with the furrowed brow and the clenched jaw look, the wrinkles for his forehead, this, it screams T1000 from the movie. He was doing this a lot in the film. He was glaring at everyone, and now I can recreate that in 1/6 scale. As you move the head sculpt round, the expression changes. Am I the only one seeing that? Surely it's coming across through the lens why I'm so enamored with this head sculpt. It's significantly more versatile than I was expecting. Anyway, it's time to move on to the secondary head sculpt. Yeah, it's okay. It's not my favorite of the two head sculpts. Technically speaking, it's really impressive. It's still got a moving eye, even though there's a hole through the head sculpt. We'll talk about it. The ripples, they're incredible. You can get this conveyed sense of motion by the way they've sculpted it. The metallic silver, it's not chrome, but it's close. There's a shine to it. And if you cover up the mouth, that does look like Robert Patrick. But that's where my issues start with this head. The chin is too narrow. It's too elongated. It looks almost exactly like the animatronic or the prosthetic that Stan Winston Studio made for the movie for this shot, for this scene. But it doesn't translate well to 1/6 scale with his mouth closed. If his mouth was open, like in the scene, then I could explain away the long jaw because his face is melting. He's got a hole through it. With the mouth closed, the expression, the entire sculpt, it falls apart for me. This, the original, I think had a stronger resemblance to Robert Patrick. The detail is nowhere near as good, and it doesn't have a moving eye, but if likeness is the only thing you care about, the 1.0 sculpt, I reckon, did it better. But it's just the likeness, detail, the moving eye. This head sculpt takes the win on that. I want to try out some side-eye with this head sculpt. There is no access at all for your finger to fit inside the sculpt. You are going to need to use the tool to move that eye around. Ooh, perhaps I'm treating this head sculpt too harshly. When you've got some side-eye happening and you tilt the head sculpt forward, that looks a lot better. But how about moving the eye down as though he's shocked? Play into the elongated jaw hole in the face thing. Yeah, that works. He looks shocked, suits what's happening perfectly. This head sculpt is still better, I feel. It's the stronger of the two, but every now and then, if you'd like to switch up the pose, you could do a hell of a lot worse than this sculpt. Back to that standard head sculpt, just looking straightforward now. I don't want to say that the blogger pics did this piece a disservice because I've got enormous respect for the bloggers. They do incredible work with backgrounds and blending the figures into them. Sometimes figures just don't photograph well, and this might be one of those pieces. Even if I ever decide to display him with the helmet and the motorcycle jacket on, the glasses, they're a no from me. They fit on the sculpt well enough. They're a bit big, they're wide for the head, and the frames are extremely thick. They don't do this head sculpt any favors, and you lose all of that expressiveness that I was just ranting and raving about how much I love because the eyes are completely hidden. The 1.0 glasses, they're more accurate, they're smaller, they've got a mirror finish, but the head sculpt is wider than the 1.0, so they don't really fit the sculpt properly. Okay, enough about the head sculpt. Let's move on to the outfit and the body. In fact, I want to discuss the body first. Is it just me? Or does it look weird. Like, not bad, just odd. Like, slightly unnatural. You could argue that that works for this character. That is the look they were going for with the boxy shoulders and traps, the longish neck, the padded torso that's a straight block all the way down. That stuff usually would really bug me, and I would say that the proportions are off and it looks terrible. With the T1000, I think he gets away with it, but only just. It's still a head scratcher. It's something that you can work around for posing, yet you do need to be aware of it. Another thing that you need to be aware of is the stitching. It's not white, it's not a light blue, it's a shiny thread, so as light hits the surface of the outfit, the thread reflects back that light and it looks like it's a different contrasting color versus the navy blue shirt. Why did they make that decision? They should have used a flat or matte thread, and that wouldn't have been a problem at all. It's a simple fix. At the factory, surely they would have been able to notice that the thread was looking lighter than the shirt it sits on. It's only visible under harsh lighting. In person, it's not as big of a deal. But it's not nothing. If you don't like the stitching, I hear you. I don't like it either. Not the color, but the shiny thread they used. I'm coming up blank trying to figure out why they did what they did. It's the little details. That's why we buy these pieces. We want them to be the best they can possibly be. The faux buttons down the front, they're sculpted plastic. Same thing with the silver ones on the pockets. You can see the press studs poking out from underneath this flap of the shirt. They should have tucked them in a bit more than they have. More faux buttons on his epaulets. The badge is quite shiny and metallic. The pen has a slot that it slides into for this pocket. It's kind of tricky to get in there at first, but once you slide it all the way in, it locks in place quite securely. The Austin badge, that's got a sheen to it, and he's wearing his white shirt underneath the navy outer shirt. I've seen some people hike it up, so it sits under his chin looking like a turtleneck. I prefer to push it down. That just seems more accurate and natural to me. There's a lot of excess fabric for the sleeves. They seem a bit baggy. That's just so that when you bend his elbows to do the finger up pose, the cuffs will cover up the wrist pegs. Just with his arms hanging straight up and down, they cover the wrist pegs as well. The pants, maybe one or two shades lighter, navy blue versus the shirt. These are the motorcycle cop pants with the white stripes on the outside of the legs. It doesn't bother me per se that they are lighter. I reckon the other pants, they're going to match color-wise versus this shirt a lot better than these do. The belt, real metal buckle, I think it's made of pleather. I can't say for sure, just like the other police belt, something to keep in mind when it comes to the longevity of this piece. Are the boots reuse from the 1.0? The mold is almost identical, including the detail on the other side. All the wrinkles are in the same places. The only difference is the new boots are painted in gloss, whereas the 1.0 ones were matte. They really should have not reused them because these are solid-ish sculpted plastic boots. There's some flex to them. They are nowhere near as flexible as the single-piece boots that they have been giving us recently. Commando James Bond, yellow and red suit Daredevil. That is the flexibility I was expecting, not this old-school hard plastic single-piece boot that they ended up giving us. But switching them out is really straightforward. I'm even willing to do it on camera, which normally I wouldn't. The ankles, double ball pegs, you take off the original ones, you pop the new ones on there, and when you're doing it, ensure the pants are tucked into the tops of the boots, otherwise it won't be an accurate look for the T1000. With the metal great looking boots on, these are also reused. I need to do some futzing with the trousers. Reused from the 1.0. They work, they're just not going to be on my T1000 in the collection. the base is to blame for that because the boots don't match the base, as you already know. Either the padding underneath the shirt or the body, something for the upper torso is magnetic. And the magnetic panel extends up to his shoulders, so you can have the bullet effects all the way up top. And the torso is flat and wide enough that there's plenty of room for all of the bullet effects to be on his shirt at any given time. I would recommend, this might sound strange, grab a piece of sticky tape and pop it over these magnets. Because with my 1.0, and there's no guarantee that the same thing is going to happen to this new one, but I'm scared of it happening. The magnets, they started to rust, then the rust leached into the police shirt, and now there's rusty marks on his shirt. I didn't even know that was happening because I don't repose my figures very often. I grabbed him off the shelf for this review, and it turns out that is indeed what has been happening. Just have fun with it, move them around, pop them wherever you want. It makes more sense to have him with the head sculpt with the hole in it when he's got all of these blast effects on his torso, and that is what that looks like. As you saw, switching out the head sculpt isn't overly tricky. It's more the white shirt collar that gets in your way. It gets caught under the base of the neck, so grab some tweezers and pull that out when you're pushing the head sculpt into the neck area. So we've done both head sculpts and the glasses and the bullet effects and the switch out boots. We've got to still check out the secondary outfit and the helmet and glasses on this head, as well as the weapons that form out of his forearms. Let's do them first. Yeah, that's sick, showcasing what the T1000 can do in 1/6 scale. In the movie, he's liquid metal, he's, shapeshifting and changing forms and physiques and whatever. In 1/6 scale, the only way to represent that ability is switch out pieces like this. The hooks, they might end up on my T1000, not sure yet. The spiky metallic finger, the blade, the blend between the navy blue paint and the wrinkling sculpted in for the end of the blade and the sleeve, it's close. It's not 100%. From a distance, that looks the way it's supposed to, I think. The secondary outfit, there is a full outfit change with the pants and the shoes, the police belt. Then we've got the helmet and the jacket that goes with this look. We'll do the helmet and jacket first, then we can move on to the regular uniform. That was so scary, installing this helmet with the glasses on at the same time over the head sculpt. There is a not 0% chance that you will do damage to the head sculpt when you're installing both of these things. The glasses scuff up the paint for the eyebrows, the helmet crunch the ears and mar up the sculpt there. It's too scary. I won't be displaying him with either of these things on as good as it looks. It does take away from the likeness. I think it does a disservice to this head sculpt because you're hiding most of it underneath the helmet. If you've got the 1.0, maybe display that one, wearing the helmet and glasses, and have this piece without any of this stuff on. The jacket was quite easy to install, and at least the jacket fixes almost all of the complaints I had about the proportions for the upper torso. Now he's got proper traps thanks to the boofy jacket. It fills him out for the waist. The arms were never an issue, but they still look good. There's wires in the collar and wires down the front, so you can shape this. You need to remove the standard belt before you install this one. Then you connect it to that stud, thread it underneath the buckle. Those two spikes go through it. The rest of it goes underneath this, then underneath the top part for the holster. A lot of futzing with a belt that doesn't feel overly leathery. It could be pleather, and over time, taking this on and off, you are going to destroy it if you are not extremely careful. Even if you are, it might still happen. Ooh, it's not bad. It's also not good. The pants, this bottom of the crotch, the top of the pants area, this whole section, is too big. If I was to hike the pants up so that they actually sat properly underneath his crotch, then he's Harry High Pants. He doesn't look very good at all. If I pull them down, then his crotch sits very low or his pants are extremely wrinkly. They break, I guess, at an okay spot on the shoes, but then the shoes, they look like business shoes, not police shoes. This is not my vibe. I'm going back to the motorcycle pants, still this belt, but the boots. So much better. It's not a problem with the motorcycle trousers. From the bottom of the crotch to the top of the pants, there's not this huge diaper area that is present with the standard trousers. No idea why that happened, it's just bizarre. So this is the look that I will be rocking for my T1000. I've tried them all, I've tried everything. It's almost a good thing that I'm making reviews, because if I had just picked up this figure for my own collection, I wasn't making reviews for y'all to help you decide if this was worth picking up, I wouldn't have tried any of it. This is how he would have come out of the box, and this is how he would have stayed. For a quick side-by-side comparison, new one on the left, original one on the right, you could likely already tell that. So many similarities, but also so many differences. The tailoring. The tailoring is the one thing that jumps out to me right away. The thinness of the fabric. How form-fitting everything is. They've employed little tricks here and there to get everything to be as tight as it is on the body. The Velcro for the fly around the back so that the crotch isn't bulky. That doesn't push out on the belt buckle, making that look strange. Then the shirt has an elastic strap stitched to it that sits under his crotch, keeping it pulled down, taut, and in place. It's never going to ride up like the original one's shirt would. And the buttons, they are small, they're in scale for 1/6. Then you've got the pen in the pocket, the badge sits at the right spot, including the name badge. Everything about the look of the new one is beating the original for me, including the proportions. Now that I'm taking a step back, seeing the thing as a whole, the boxy shoulders in context with his posture and the expression on his face and the look of the outfit, it is somehow starting to work for me. So if you have the original and you're thinking about skipping the new one because the 1.0 is good enough, I really don't think it is. And now that you've seen them standing next to each other, if I had to guess, you might be feeling the same. An all-time grail, the DX13, it will remain a grail for a lot of people. The new one that's coming out, counting down the seconds until that releases now that I've got T1000. The DX13, next to the new T1000, does this work? Shit, yeah, it does. These two look so good standing next to each other. And scaling-wise, Arnie being 6'2", Robert Patrick 6 foot, the height difference, that looks about right to me. Going over articulation, starting off with the T1000's head sculpt. There's a ball joint at the base of the fixed neck, and seeing as though that's the only joint at play here, it has to do all of the heavy lifting. Looking forward to there before it bounces back, looking up to there, swivel, and some pivot side to side. His arms will go up to there with the police shirt on. If you've got him wearing the jacket, you might get less range. Going forward and back on soft ratchets, butterfly joint at the shoulder that hinges up and down. Swivel at the bicep, and by the way, his arms can almost go completely flush down by his sides. There's only a little gap there. Double bend at the elbow going past 90. Can we bring the sleeves up to cover the wrist pegs? Yeah, pretty easily. Speaking of the wrist pegs, ratcheted hinges and swivels. There's some padding for the torso. Crunching forward is heavily restricted. I am fighting it. Going to there, so we don't really get much. Going back to there, swivel, and some pivot side to side, but barely any. Legs will go forward to there as the pants are coming out the tops of the boots, going out to there, swivel at the upper thigh. Double bend at the knees, going past 90. And then this is quite the letdown, given what we just saw, what we just experienced with Commando James Bond. These solid sculpted boots, I was expecting more than this. You can get a little tilt out of them. That's because they're flared out at the top, so there's a gap where you can hinge the boots left and right. It's not because of the soft material that I was hoping they were going to use for these. Forward and back, not much, but we do get a significant amount of swivel. Moving on to the 3 cool and 3 annoying things. The first annoying thing is a real head scratcher. Why did they use the cheapest, the nastiest, shiny thread for the stitching for his police uniform. When light hits that thread, it reflects off the surface and it makes the thread look like it's white on a navy blue shirt. It isn't. In person, it's not a problem, but for photography and in the display under lights above this piece, you are probably going to notice the stitching. The second annoying thing, did you see this one coming? A lot of people have been complaining about this. I bet you did. These boots, they don't match the base. All they needed to do was give us a thin, even cardboard printed image of flooring that looks like what's represented on these boots to have on the inside of the lip in the middle of this top platform for the base. Entebbe gave us a switch out platform with their quarter scale T1000. Why didn't Hot Toys with this new, supposedly ultimate T1000 2.0? The third annoying thing, this is not a deal breaker, and I can work with it. In the right pose, this figure is going to look insane. The proportions are weird. He's got quite a long neck and very flat shoulders and traps. You can adjust all of this stuff, getting it to look natural, and I hate to use this word, but not robotic. He's a Terminator. I know he should be a little bit robotic. Isn't the easiest thing in the world to accomplish. The first cool thing, in an era where Hot Toys are slimming down offerings and taking stuff away from figures, it is a pleasant surprise to get a release that is as stacked as this T1000 2.0, with all of the switch out options and 2 head sculpts. The second cool thing, you can see it, it's the display base. How could it not be? The light up effect, the print underneath the top platform, there's real depth going on. Then the orange glow that's cast on the T1000 from below. I know I already said this in the accessory segment, and I'm repeating myself. It sets the scene beautifully. The third cool thing, I've got my issues with this head sculpt. I've made them abundantly clear. The engineering required to have a hole straight through the sculpt and still give us a moving eye. This, I thought, would have a fixed eye for sure, but no, they managed to get it done, and that alone is pretty impressive. Wrapping up on Hot Toys Terminator 2 Judgment Day T1000 2.0, get this killer robot. If you have a Terminator collection, if you have always been wanting a Terminator collection, you need this. The T1000 is so iconic. Robert Patrick in this role, he killed it. And Hot Toys, yes, there's some snags. Yes, there's some things that you have to work with, and they're a little bit tricky, and some things don't even make sense. But overall, this figure is so much greater than the sum of its parts. The head sculpt, huge fat W. The outfit options, I'm not going to use them, but they're there. Just because I don't think they're the best thing in the world doesn't mean that you won't. Give them a try. Maybe they will take this figure to the next level for you. So many accessories and the display base. This sounds so stupid, but display bases are very important for 1/6 scale figures because this is a dude in a motorcycle cop outfit. He needs a presence boost. And the display base with the lights on, it is going to work wonders for him. Then you chuck on the weapons and the arms with the blades or the hooks or something. That will give him even more presence. The head sculpt does a lot of heavy lifting. I'm not saying that this isn't an impressive figure just standing there in the standard outfit, but the more you add to it, I feel the cooler this T1000 becomes. At the end of this, I've already made my thoughts very clear. Get this T1000 if you can, if you've been waiting to start a Terminator collection. Now is the time. This is a proper upgrade, a real 2.0 versus the original. Now, I got mine at a discount from Pop Collectibles. I've popped a link to their site in the description, along with the discount code Justin's Collection, for 5% off your order if you decide to buy from them. As always, do your own research, make sure you're comfortable before buying. If you're heading down to the description, why not hit that subscribe, bell notification icon, and join button if you like the sound of seeing your name in the end credits of my reviews. Like, comment, and subscribe. We'll catch you in the next video.